What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games. In today's video, we're breaking down the Pokemon Legends ZA map, aka Lumiose City. The city has been updated for sure with the new redevelopment plan, and we're breaking down everything I thought was interesting about the city. And of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it, and consider supporting the channel by joining the Pan Fam by hitting that join channel member button below. Now, if you haven't seen it, there is an official Lumiose City map that was posted on the Pokemon Legends ZA website, and we have it all broken down over here. So it has a lot of old locations, but a couple new ones as well. But it pretty much gives us a great idea of what to expect from this game. That one, this game is supposed to only take place in the city, so this is essentially our world map for the game. We'll see how true that is when the game actually comes out. Now, the important parts of this map is one, we do have the 5 quadrants of the map, which are the different plazas. We have the Rouge Plaza, the Knot, Vert, Blue, and Magenta plazas. So we have 5 major plazas, each one based on a color. And I do believe there is some sort of color coordination on the map to these actual different colors. Like the Vert Plaza is going to be right here, which is going to be essentially green. So I think this is probably going to be our starting area, which makes a lot of sense because on the map we do have like a trainer and Pikachu at point R over here. Now, we get the station at point B, which is probably where the game begins at the very beginning. And it does look like at point R, this is a similar point to where we may actually see the starter Pokemon or receive them. But we do also have the Pokemon Lab over at point I. So it might be a straight shot in the beginning of the game from point B to point I, from the station to the Pokemon Lab. Now, there is a couple of new points on the map. We got the Quasar Tico building, which is the new corporation that is doing the redevelopment project on the city. And they could be good guys, they could be bad guys. We'll just have to wait and see how the plot goes on that. But it is actually pretty close by to Team Flair's old building. So just keep that in mind. They're the villains of Pokemon X and Y of the Kalos region. And we get some, other interesting stuff. We get some close-up shots of like the shopping arcade. This is probably where we're going to be buying all our clothes and things like that. We sort of get some ideas of where we're going to encounter some wild Pokemon at like point E and point F and point G. So these little plazas over here potentially may capture some Pokemon. I don't know, maybe the plazas are not like actual basically places where we battle Pokemon, but major places where we can catch a lot of different Pokemon, which would be really cool. Now, we do have this text at the bottom of the map, essentially a key, but is in the Pokemon language. I do believe this first point over here is going to be the wild area. I'm not sure what this second point is going to be. Maybe this is plazas. This one's the Pokemon Center. This is shopping, and this is cafes. I wonder what cafes are going to be doing in this game. I wonder why they were listed. And I'm not sure what this last other point is. Definitely let me know in the comment section below what you think this last point is. It sort of looks like I don't actually have no idea. It looks sort of like a ramp. So very interested in what that will end up being. So this is the actual map of Pokemon X and Y. You can see that it wasn't very detailed, but you can notice the 5 plazas, the 5 quadrants. We do have all of the routes going out to the different parts of X and Y, but I don't think we're going to be using any of those. But in X and Y, it was essentially just like you get a big outer rim, you got to go 1 deep, and then there's a couple of side paths here inside of these bigger quadrants where you can like see like, oh, Trevor's house and things like that, but not a lot going on in the original game. Now, something that's actually very interesting, Wild Zone 1 in this image has green banners on the side, and you can see that, oh, they're sort of like on the edge of the city here, and wherever this location is has like these red pinkish flags. Well, and this part also has these purple flags, so it looks like the quadrants are actually going to be put out in like with different flags. So you can see Wild Zone 1 is probably going to be the vert area here. And then whatever that second image was, wherever that location is, probably is going to be either the pink one or the red one. I don't know why Magenta Plaza ends up being more red than purple. That's a little weird. But I guess it could maybe be the pink one. And then I guess the Magenta could be more red. We'll just have to wait and see. But it seems like there is some sort of color coordination with the flags going on, which is super cool. Now, we do have this point where we actually meet the starters is right down here. Looks to be right at the, like, just pass down the station here. Looks like we get to meet the starters here. Doesn't mean we actually get to start the game there, but it looks like we do actually get to meet the starters right down there. And you get to see Wild Area 1 Wild Area 2. So Wild Area 1 looks to be right on the edge of the town. There's nothing going on. You can see the mountains over there. Wild Area 2 is definitely in some sort of plaza. Maybe not a main plaza, but some sort of little park area. And you can see there's water. So definitely some sort of park that we can freely catch Pokemon in. And it looks like 1 is going to be down over here. And I do want to say shout out to Yo Rhydon for making this map here, which is really helpful. So it looks like we have the map of the Wild Area 1 down here. Wild Area 2 will be somewhere over here. And then 6 and 8 are over here as well. So there's a lot of wild areas. We know there's at least 8. Obviously, there's going to be a much more because we don't even have the full map. But it maybe seems like there could be 2 to 3 wild areas per zone. Because obviously, where they're going to put number 3, 4, 5, and then 7 on this. But the game's progression may go from green, yellow, to like this pink, to this red, to this blue. So we may be going counterclockwise to unlock a bunch of different areas. That just might make the most sense because there has to be some sort of progression. I don't think they will let us just go through the city whenever they would want us to go through the city in general. So it seems like there may be some sort of guided progression. Also, to be fair, this isn't going to be the only place we're going to be catching wild Pokemon. We know from the gameplay that you can catch wild Pokemon in the wild. There is no wild area up here or anything like that. You can see it doesn't have that green little circle. So yes, we can catch Pokemon outside. I don't know what the difference is between catching Pokemon in the wild area versus outside. I'm sure there has to be some. I assume the wild area will constantly be spawning, while there's going to probably be a lower chance of spawns out there in the open world of the city per se. And of course, we can have battles in the open world as well. You can see this is a trainer battle. We don't have a good look at the mini map here either, but this might be more of a later game area considering we have Pokemon up in the 38s. Now, some great theory crafting here. Maybe we could get the Tapus in this game. I mean, we do have the right colors to match the Tapus. We have a yellow, we have a pink, we have a red, and we have a blue. So that would make a lot of sense. And I don't think we have anything in the green area because that's the starting zone. But maybe when you clear an area or in the post game, you clear some side quests and things like that, you can finally catch a Tapu. Notice that these Pokemon are not available in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so there's a good chance that they may be available in this game as some sort of post-game quest. Maybe they're part of the story. I mean, Pokemon Legends Arceus had a bunch of legendaries that were catchable through the story before you can actually really beat the game. Now, we've been talking a lot about the map, but what we haven't talked about is what the map isn't showing us, and I do believe there is going to be some sort of underground system. You know, the Kalos region is based on France, so the capital of France is Paris, and Paris has a massive catacomb subterranean area, and it would be weird not to include an underground area. Not only would that be more gameplay, more content, but also I assume different type of Pokemon will live underground, and it could be like a sewer system as well involved in that, so that could be really interesting and add a lot of gameplay. Maybe it's post-game, maybe it's part of the story, maybe you have to go underground and, you know, do something with Zygarde. Could be very interesting, but I do think there is more to the game than we are actually seeing on the world map. Now, of course, speaking of Zygarde, yes, Zygarde cells are going to be all over this map, so we're going to have to probably collect them all as some sort of side quest to maybe get our own Zygarde or maybe collect enough to move on in the story. Not sure how this is going to be, but hopefully it's not like the Spirit Tomb spirits we had to get in Pokemon Legends Arceus. That was a little bit annoying to get those 108 of them. We don't really know what the center tower is going to be doing in the city either. Something to do with Pokemon battles, something to do with a promotional match is what the end of the trailer showed us, but we don't really know. Maybe it ends up being a battle tower. Could be like a city league tournament or something like that. That could be part of the story. Could be very plot relevant. This is how we get Mega Stones and access to them, by beating certain trainers, and they give us more stones and more access. There's just a lot of different ideas going on there. Now, once again, there's a big difference from 2013 to 2025. I mean, you can see that the game is a lot more vertical. Everything's much more realistic in size and stature. But I mean, I do think the game, you know, fidelity-wise is still not there. It looks better in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but I do wish it graphically looked better. This is a Game Freak issue. This isn't a Switch issue. There's plenty of games that have higher fidelity. Now, I do think there is something very disappointing here. So this is like a shopping plaza. Now, notice if you see in the shopping plaza that you don't see any way to walk in. Like there's doors, but they look painted on. And this looks like a Scarlet and Violet issue. We're probably not going to be able to walk into these buildings in general. And if you look a little bit closer into the trailer, you can see some virtual reality stuff happening over here. It looks like we're going to have virtual shopkeepers. So you just walk up to the kiosk and buy the closing items or whatever items in general from there. And I think another point that makes it true is you can see that you can walk into the Pokemon Center. So if you can walk into a place, it'll allow you to walk in. You can go in and see an interior. But if it is just painted on like this, you're not going to be able to do that. So it looks like we're back to painted on doors, except for certain special buildings like the hotel or the Pokemon centers. You'll be actually able to walk in. But is it really like something interesting if there's, if you're not opening the door, it's just an open area? So that's a little bit disappointing for me personally. Now, this game does have a lot of vertical gameplay. We are using like the Rotom phone to jump from building to building, which I do think is pretty funny. So there is like the gameplay on the ground, but also a lot of different gameplay areas on top of the buildings. I assume, once again, we'll get the Zygarde cells there, but also Pokemon battles, wild areas will be included in this. Now, I don't know if this necessarily looks great to be jumping from back and forth. It will be an interesting gameplay mechanic. I think because we're using the Rotom phone, we're not actually going to have any sort of ride Pokemon. We're not going to be running around on a Pokemon's back or anything like that. I don't think that's really happening. You would think if you're going to jump from another building to another building, use a Pokemon and not some sort of phone device. Now, to get up the buildings, we are going to be going up the buildings with these very bright yellow up arrow things that are just going to jet us up there, which I do think is very video gamey for sure. It definitely feels like a Sonic game type of UI situation there. But there are ladders in the game. And of course, we do have everyone's favorite, paint the ladder yellow so you don't miss it, because it's proven that you will miss the ladder if it's not a little bit yellow. But you can see that, hey, we can, it's not just jet boosting. There is going to be regular climbing in the game too. But something I am not a big fan of is if you look closer at the buildings, the buildings are very flat. They all look the same. And the flowers are just painted on. They're not an actual flower texture on it. It really just looks like they made windows with a flower, and it's just like very two-dimensional, nothing going on there. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of those things add up. So graphically, it's better than Scarlet and Violet, but I do think we lose a little bit when they don't make these buildings look a little bit more unique from each other. It doesn't feel like a proper city when all these buildings look very similar. And then when you take an actually decent look, and to be fair, the game's not done yet, so maybe the game will look better at launch, but I hope they improve and increase the fidelity and details of the map here. But there we have it, guys. That is everything we know about Lumiose City at the moment for Pokemon Legends ZA. Personally, I am still very excited for this game, and we're going to be making a bunch more videos on this game, of course, leading up to the launch. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and of course, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Have a good one.